This is the Whole Earth Game program. Because everything depends on it.
Alanson Charles is a 64-year-old environmental designer of One Whole Earth System, a graduate from Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, California. Class of 98, Alanson is a whole systems thinker with a better way to find the way. A visionary designer struggling against the standardization of inadequate housing, food, water, energy, and occupation. For every living thing, just 5 things. Looking for his first big break, he comes to you with his first book, Play Whole Earth Game. In 1995, Alanson re-entered academia with an idea to end the lack of adequate housing and runaway inflation. Since then, he's been extremely focused on whole systems thinking, as imagined by R. Buckminster Fuller and his book called The Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. This book is the direct inspiration for Alanson's book, called Play Whole Earth Game, where we assembled a board of directors with the likes of John Todd, Amory Lovins, Nikola Tesla, to get us out of any situation our little spaceship One Whole Earth can get us into. As you know, a good meal made with love is the real food. Let's plant a garden to continuously provide the best possible food. First, feed the body, then feed the mind. A personal garden and/or a community garden feeds the body and the mind. It leaves a legacy of plenty. All living things need 5 things: home, water, food, energy, occupation. But before we start, let's remember the 4 agreements and the 7 laws that govern thee all. Remember, everyone plays at practice. Don't be late. And Carrie Harrison with you, and welcome to the Whole Earth Game program. Now let's turn to welcome Alanson Charles, a visionary environmental designer and whole systems thinker with a passion to revolutionize the way we all live. Alanson has dedicated his life to finding solutions to the world's most pressing issues, inspired by R. Buckminster Fuller's Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth and Alanson's debut book, Play Whole Earth Game. It transforms the way we approach housing and food, water, energy, occupation, all with a focus on sustainability and community. He shares his vision for a better world. Let's now embark on this journey together, remembering those 4 agreements and the 7 laws that govern us all. Get ready to be inspired and empowered to create a legacy of plenty. It's the Whole Earth Game program, and here's Alanson Charles.
Wow. I really feel pretty special with that introduction. Thank you, Carrie. And I want to say, for those of you yet to come, for future generations, we got to pay it forward to buy it back. We're going to have to work a little harder to get what we need now, but we're going to get there because there's only one way to go. And together we can seed what happens next. For every living thing, right? Just 5 things. Together, we depend on unity. Without that, we can't really go anywhere. So what we're going to talk about today is the details of how to get into this game and what we're doing here. Because intellect, of all the resources, for some reason, we have been gifted with this thing called intellect, and it is here. And what I present to you is nothing more than what I was presented to me. And it felt like my job was to bring it to you in the easiest possible way. Let's simplify what it is that we are doing on planet Earth. And Buckminster Fuller had the same idea. He thought after his first child, was succumbed by childhood disease, he thought it was the end of the world. And when he was given a chance to have another child, he thought, well, maybe the best thing I can do is just end it all right now and give him a life insurance policy of $100,000, which in those days was quite a bit of money. But he thought, what if I just decide to stay on and see what happens next if I just decide not to? And maybe what if I started thinking about, instead of just me and what I need, what about how everyone needs a place to stay tonight? Everybody needs clean water, and everyone needs the energy and food. And this is all part of the gift of this planet, as you know. I mean, this is all given to us for free. If we know how to really get to it and really work with it, we can absolutely have our own great experience. And this is what we're trying to do here in the game, is just to It's just simply get it into like a game format, because people who use the game as a way to get out of trouble live longer, stronger, happier lives. Do you know what happened yesterday, Carrie, in the real news, in the real world? And you know what numbers they were? It was 6 June, and it was 2-4, which is 6, and it was 2-4, which is 6. And a miracle happened. Julian Assange was released from prison with his head held high, his integrity in full tact. And he is one of the main players that we are looking for in this type of the whole earth game. This is a person who will put himself on the line. And of course, where did I find that information today? Was it on any of the news programs? Was it on Fox? Was Fox News jumping up and down today, having a celebration about Julian Assange's release from really solitary confinement, which, if you know anything about the psychosis of incarceration, solitary confinement, and it being ignored and being ostracized is absolutely one of the hardest struggles we'll have on this planet. God help us if we say something that might rub somebody the wrong way. And in the days when we thought free speech was just something we could take for granted, we're in a place where we have to really drill down even more. And now I got that from Amy Goodman, of course, from Democracy Now! So we want, and that's exactly, so she's another inspiration. There's no question that what we want is democracy now. So you put it in the title. What I want you to do is play Whole Earth Game to find your own democracy now. Right, here we go. I mean, it all comes back to this thing. And while I'm going over this with you and just going over our association, because it's like I am the fan. I'm the crazed fan. I'm the other side of it. Instead of a gun, I get to use the words. Words are power. What I think and what I say is real power. And as we bring it to you and your viewers, we're doing, his will. His will. That will. Its will. The will of our creator. So this is what I'm doing is I got in over my head. I went to a school with a good idea. I thought we could just get a couple guys together and make it look good. We'll have a couple of race car style houses and just go into production, and I'll just get into it. And I did, get a chance to go all the way to some weird meeting with some folks from the Oxnard World Trade Center. And talking about using this steel tube housing with some Ukrainian people, interestingly enough. And they laughed at me because, Ukraine is a cement-based, they use a lot of cement there because they have it available in the ground, and they export cement. So they don't use steel the way we use steel. We use steel so that we didn't have to use cement so much. We could reduce that. I mean, there's another continuation of this thing with Trump using concrete when everyone else was using steel in New York. And of course, the only people that use concrete in New York are connected to something other than building the most super energy efficient building. Okay. Anyway, so what we do is we start with Bucky Fuller, and we remember that we're here for, the purpose to make this world work for humanity in the larger sense. And then, I guess, the second daughter went on to be a professor and, academia and on to the next thing. So the first child was succumbed by, the meningitis at the time, and through the water probably it came. And so he was this is where he started drilling down. And now this whole system of housing, water, food, energy. And so when I understood that, I just said, okay, we're going to throw out the whole steel tube housing and start from, scratch. And then I ended up going to visit with Nader Khalili. And so I went from working with steel and cement into working with earth. And this is, the man. We'll talk more about him in the next book that I'm writing right now about how to win the game. Now, this is an Iranian fellow, is a professor at the Southern California Institute of Architecture, otherwise known as SciArc. And his whole dream was to build Earth housing. And then, anyway, but the 5 things. So we know that we need these 5 things. It starts with housing. So if we go into housing, I'd like to show you kind of, well, it's not time for that. Let's just go into this. Let's talk about Christopher Alexander. So the thing that Christopher Alexander did is, it takes a while to unpack this guy. And he is one of these people that once you understand about Christopher, then you realize you're into a super deep and wide rabbit hole. And what Christopher is doing now, he's a scientist, he's a mathematician. See, this is all based on this. And then the pattern, when you start to see the pattern of cities that work, and then the pattern of cities that tend to be more of a irritation to people, then what we need to do is, moving forward, is always bring our emotion to the table as a real relevant part of the conversation. So many times in construction, it comes right to how much is it going to cost and how fast can I get it done. Very difficult. It's very difficult without some sense of urgency to get this back into the hands of the people. Now, of course, with every single catastrophic event that happens either in this country or around the world, we see opportunity for change. And it's not the kind we like. We like the kind that we invented ourselves. And we want to be, well, in my case, I like to be anticipatory. I don't like to be catching up and making fixing problems that happened because I didn't do the right design. I want to make sure I get it done early, and I want to help you understand that you can do this with every aspect of your life. Let's just use architecture, though, as our primary, way of getting into it, and just to imagine it. So we want to be able to see through the bullshit out there in terms of, is that building giving back anything except to the people that are warehousing all of their gold bars in the basement? A full warehouse filled to the sky with gold bars has no use to any human being on this planet, okay? Because we can't do it. Okay, the next person that we're going to learn about, and I want to take a break, and we're going to see the short movie I made. Now, this is from a soundtrack that was given to me by somebody, a man, Sir John, and he created this soundtrack, and I was able to put the drums on top of it. So please enjoy this 55 seconds. Take a little break.
How do you like that? If you like good music, original compositions, and part of the craft of great storytelling and of understanding, using analogies, using uh, other forms to tell the same story is to obviously by bringing music in. As they say, music tames the wild beast, the savage within all of us. It is probably the universal noise, much as early drumming or cave drawings, pictographs, that tends to connect us all, because it doesn't matter what language you speak, it's the language of the heart. And Alanson Charles, of course, is a musician as well, which gives him a unique look at how the world works, because artists see way more deeply than people who are not artists. So we're lucky to have one. Alanson Charles, back to you. A man of many levels, as we keep discovering week after week, deeper and deeper and deeper, and more capable of understanding the process that you've already very nicely written about, but now you're actually putting it into words like a TED Talk. It's awesome.
Well, I don't know what that is, but yes, thank you very much. And TED Talk will be probably coming up. You know, we have to get this word out. We have to basically. The first thing that I just watched a lecture with Buckminster Fuller at UCLA in 1973, and he explained the first thing he said to everybody, and I want to give you that too, is that I have nothing. There's nothing I have. Nothing I have that everyone watching doesn't have. We have that. We are born naked and helpless, and we are left at the mercy of whoever is willing and able to feed us. Good luck with that. But the rest of it comes out to be an adventure. As soon as you understand that you're on a huge, epic journey, and that every little thing that comes your way is a check in the win box, then it just becomes all just a fun time. And now you're in the things that really matter, which are the laws that govern the universe, and the laws that govern this planet, and the fact that this planet really is life driven and not death driven. Now, what looks to be a horrible time in this planet is simply just another repeat of other horrible times. And sure enough, here are still human beings still clinging to the surface. And so anyway, now that we've gone in, so what I really want to talk about with Paolo Solari is, this is arcology. So what does that mean to you? But he created a new word, and that's where I started understanding how to create new words. When I met arcology, when I went there and ran around and saw his vision going into, I don't have it together to build that type of thing. For whatever reason, the resources don't come to me to make that manifest, but he sure did. And because he did, I can learn from that. And the same thing for Bucky Fuller. The things came to him. He was, it was a long story of how he got into the situation where he becomes my primary teacher. But he's also the influencer of Paolo Solari. Paolo Solari went to work for Frank Lloyd Wright, thought he was too docile, wanted to go further. This project behind him is a real thing in Cortez Junction. It's called Arcosante. And it is it's a real demonstration of how to use the environment and energy and the flow of energy to heat and cool and do all these types of things, all funded by casting of bells that were, probably just, they're unique to that thing, I could never understand that. But they were able to raise money casting bells, and it was interesting. If you have a Solari bell, it's probably worth quite a bit right now. The next person on our list, who I brought in, who was one of the early, once I saw this man's work, I knew, we're going with John Todd. So once I saw John Todd's work, I knew that we had these solutions, okay? Because this person has, he is the biochemist. He is the what I call him in my book. I can't remember, living machinist, of course. Because now what he did is he went after super polluted cleanup sites and found the ways to remediate these horribly polluted areas using biofiltration and biotechnology to disassemble toxic material to create a cleaner and more it's actually, you can come back almost 100% from complete degradation. We want to do a thing called grow it green. We're going to grow it green. Now, my vision is that we can start to work with petroleum companies in all areas to work with mediating and mitigating some of the pollution that is part of doing business in petroleum. So if we're there using biofiltration and John Todd's technique, we can really reduce any kind of harm from that activity until we get completely off it. We're so close to getting completely off of oil, coal, and nuclear. This is why they're sending their guy. They're just sending a Hail Mary through these presidential candidates. To see to see where we want to go. And I think that we're going to go into this. Life has a tendency to go in the direction of life. We tend to want to go towards life. Even how angry you get to be, you still, suicide is the last resort. So with John Todd, we can go to any water situation where there's pollution and we can start the industry of cleaning up that area. Now, the byproduct of clean water is food and energy too now, because we can turn water into energy in a heartbeat with some energy, with some solar power, some wind energy. We can turn water into hydrogen and oxygen and compressed air and all kinds of things that are coming out finally towards in our lifetime. Maybe they'll solve it and give us the the holy grail of free energy, because energy, of course, is everywhere. And who we'll talk at the end about is our guy Nikola Tesla, who was experimenting and telling loud. On my board is Nikola Tesla. You beat that. You tell me you have someone who's stronger in terms of energy understanding and how to make it work for all people, and I will give you a whole 5 cents. Leave it in the comment section below if you think you know somebody better suited to design our future electric grid, or non-grid in this case, because we're going to be moving away from that very quickly. So John Todd, well, now, so how do we get this thing going? I was just explaining to our neighbor, we have a vacant lot and it's been cleaned out. There was a tree or two, but they were just kind of bushy trees and weedy trees, and decided to go, that was not going to happen. So we have an empty lot. The lot is for a dog park. The dog park has stickers, or whatever they call, they're basically foxtails that stick in the dog's claws, and it's pretty bad. If they go in the nose, they go in the ears. I had a hunting dog, and we just spent most of the time at the vet with foxtails. Spent a lot of time there. So the question is, what do you do about this? Well, the goal is to till that thing and then come in with seed balls that bring the kind of food that you want, or the kind of grasses that you want, and the kind of mycelium that you need to keep the invasive species, the weedy species out of the situation. Then you can turn it over and to be the kind of landscape that you want, all through design and the use of seed balls. Pretty much no work throwing these things around and then waiting for the thing to rain, waiting for the next rain to actually activate those seeds. And because they're California native seeds, they should get a jump on it. See, that's the point. How we go back into wildfire areas, we've got to get rid of the invasive species that come in and make those fires hotter, stronger, more powerful. They completely wipe out the native grasses. They take over, as you see. The beautiful mustard colored mountain range in California is an invasive species designed to increase wildfire. As we move forward, we got Jeff Lawton. Don't forget Jeff Lawton. Where are we? 9:30. So help. Yeah. So 26 minutes in. This is great. Now, Jeff Lawton is our food forester. So he took basically the information. So there's always a line. The line is coming through the anticipatory design science, getting ready, building something now for something that will happen in the future. Building something now, anticipating what will happen in the future. Now, think about that. I want you to keep that in your memory bank and you keep that in your imagination sack. Imagine building something now, knowing something will happen is some of the, like, that's the long-term thinking and understanding of where we sit in this, what we call modern times. In the now time, we are just in the now. Okay, so this brings us to, well, Nikola Tesla we've already talked about. So Jeff Lawton is our food forester. We know that we can go in and start to green the desert with the things that we have learned from Jeff Lawton. So you see the board that I'm bringing together. I've got somebody there with a big vision. I've got other people that are following that vision. Now, I think that these people have not necessarily given the right connection to our Bucky Fuller. And then he really goes back to our creator. I mean, it's all about like getting on your knees and that point of desperation, saying, please help me, Lord. And then being willing to hear the response that says, do something you never thought possible and hurry up about it. Okay. Next. Well, see, my question is, so the four things that we were talking about: a place to sleep tonight, clean water for coffee in the morning, okay, breakfast at one point, and that gives us the energy to get into this thing that we're doing right now. If you're watching this thing, I hope you have, if this is the last thing you're doing, it might be the first thing to the next thing you're doing. If you're just driving along and just trying to think, is this the best I can do? I say, heck yeah, give yourself a break right now. Just say yes. To be alive is it's a huge participation trophy. Just each breath that we take is a participation trophy on one whole earth. Okay? Everything is designed for us to be who we can be. Now, I'm going to jump forward before I go back. But here's the thing. Who doesn't love the happiest place on earth? Let's get a picture of Walty. What did you get for Walt Disney here? I want to thank Renee for being in the back and making this thing really happen. It just looks so professional with her. And we can go on. This is by the way, get a cup. Say something in the comment line. You want a cup, and we'll figure out how to do that. So another guy who comes to the point of self-destruction and then, finds some way out, and, Steamboat Willie, let's just put it to music. I don't know. By one thing or another, now we have what we think about as being the happiest place on earth. Is that true? Or is it a museum of what it looked like to be in the happiest place on earth? Is it a fantasy? So now, if you think about theme park architecture and you think about village architecture, did Walt Disney follow his own pattern language? Did he create his pattern language? Now we're into something, right? Like, so the theme park mall type of architecture becomes this type of how to get people through. And what shocked me is that, of course, as a kid growing up in that area, in that era, I was always a big fan of Disney, and we were shown to be a big fan of Disney. And as a kid of a guy that was a heavy hitter in finance, we got to go see this because, it seemed like a sure thing to invest in Walt Disney if it's the happiest place. Now, he was making some money with his movies too, so this is how it worked, But the happiest place on earth, of course, is, inside, the heart of a child. Right. To wake up that imagination, that fantasy, but not to basically fill it all. I guess the question is, are you more intelligent because you were listening to the radio, or are you more intelligent because you were watching TV? Are you more intelligent because you thought about what the castle looked like before you went to the castle, and now you're kind of like, oh, that's what a castle looks like? You can't think of another thing that would ever look like anything but a castle. But that's the kind of thing. So what's fascinating too is it really just became down to how many dollars per square foot that was making per hour. And that kind of takes the heart and soul out of a place, because what Christopher Alexander did is he went back and said, okay, what is the happiest place on earth? And then if you go back even further to the Tao and talk with Lao Tzu, you would say the happiest place on earth is where a person is living and is so content to be there. Can I put Christopher Alexander up? He's so content to be there that he doesn't want to leave. A person who is so happy, and that's kind of where I'm at now in my life too, which is why I'm happy to be sharing this with other people, is that what we want to do is find the happiness where we're sitting. Okay. And I hope this game can help you do this, because it opens up your imagination, allows you to think. Now, remember that in our imagination is where we got to solve these problems. If we can go out and actually do this in reality, then we're just way ahead of the game, highly winning. Now, here's 3 people that took it for another level. Let's put up L. Hunter Lovins, Paul Hawken, and Amory Lovins in whatever order, because these folks are just amazing people. Now, this is like, how do you get this thing done is the question. Of course, I was already a contractor. I was a civil engineer, general engineer, and I had, I was just going cutthroat and just nuts and bolts. I just want to know where the job is, how many hours it's going to take me to get there, how many trucks I need, and how many guys I need running those trucks. I mean, I can do that in my head. And I was able to use that in lighting too. But this is the thing. So these folks are doing this in terms of sustainability. Paul Hawken, Amory Lovins, and L. Hunter Lovins are a triad, and I'm not quite sure. We're going to find out more, I think, in a future episode. I'm going to ask some questions, some personal questions to L. Hunter Lovins, if I can, to find out what the relationship and how these folks got together and why and so forth, because it's fascinating to me. But they laid the groundwork of the blessed unrest, natural capitalism. Natural capitalism is the primary handbook directly from, you say, you heard about Buckminster Fuller, and you heard about the world game, and you heard about anticipatory design science, and then you get to read natural capitalism, and you say, oh, that's what you were talking about. Natural capitalism is about seeing, well, it's just that's a whole nother story that we're going to talk about. And that whole subject is going to take an hour to unpack. But once you do, you'll be a better. So basically, here's the point is, at the end of the day, they created a thing called the 17 Principles of Collaborative Design. Okay, that's the primary takeaway. Now, I would love to think that I had something to do with that, but I'm trying to drill down and focus on these things. These guys have books and pages and pages of the details of economics of sustainability. And sure enough, as it was predicted, we are in a situation now where, because solar thing, okay, let's go ahead. I got to step back a bit, because I've actually lived through this stuff, and I can tell you from being like a fly on the wall in the situation that was happening. When I was writing this book, we were in a thing called the Enron debacle. Okay, it was a Ponzi scheme, and there was something about coalescing all of the energy flow. I can't really tell you the details, except it seemed like very convoluted, it's very, very confusing. But what happened is people put this money in there, and then it couldn't really make any money because it seemed to me that they had forgotten that one thing where the law of conservation of energy is such that the more energy you get, the less it costs. And the more you spread it out, I mean, basically, this is what was happening is that the more solar was coming in, the less oil and coal was needed, okay, to create the same amount. Because what we want to do is create electricity to do stuff. And what's happened since 9/11, because do you remember on 9/11, something very strange happened. If you were listening to KPFK, you were down, okay, because I was there and I was listening to those guys all day long. And we were getting it, pretty much from the source. 9/11 in plain sight. Remember that one? All that. Anyway, so on 9/11, Building 7 just collapsed for no apparent reason, and all the gold, because it was one of the gold treasuries, was somehow removed from the basement before that even happened. And that was where all the records for Enron in this case were being held. And like the day after that, there was no more Enron discussion. I can't remember Enron ever coming up. But I do remember before that happening thinking that if they coalesce all this energy, it's just going to become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And they're not going to be able to make any money. You can't make money with this. Basically, energy is a free thing. They put these meters on it. If you understand about J.P. Morgan and Tesla and their history together, then you know that there was a tower, the Wardenclyffe Tower was set up to do pulling energy from the atmosphere and then be able to distribute it through radio wave technology. And this is where we go back to Tesla in our game too, because we know that guy is going to give us some straight answers with what's happening. GM has just announced a new pressurized air car. But I don't know why I can see directly through that, where if they had a little teeny bit of gasoline, if it was a combination of things, we could expand that. Now, even Amory Lovins from the Rocky Mountain Institute said that, burning a square inch of gasoline was a hard thing to beat. The power in the square inch of gasoline to get things done is very difficult to beat. But we can do it. I mean, if you take a little square inch of gasoline, take a square inch of the square, use that to ignite or, capturing energy. They say that you can't get more energy from a thing than you can get out of it, but that's completely ridiculous too. If you have 4 wheels, 3 wheels can be used to make energy, and 1 wheel can be made, please, just here we go. So now that's, to restart the game. So basically the clean sheet of 17 principles designed and written by L. Hunter Levins, Amory Lovins, and Paul Hawken, and with the help of the Rocky Mountain Institute, they created, the thing that we're going to use to start our game. So we reset the game from here this time. Every single day is a new chance to reset the game. Just cheater, like spoiler alert. To find, the details. My book also too is a simple. I'm lazy and I'm a regular guy and I'm just like you, and I don't want to do a lot. And so I just wanted to get something really fast. Like if you just read the cover, you can get a lot out of this book. If you're like me, I'm a cover reader. That's pretty much all I read. If I can't feel it, like, through the cover, I'm probably not going to get that book every once in a while. Because for me, reading, the physical bit of reading has always been difficult, which has put me to the outside of things. But I can listen and I can hear and I can fast. And that's a quote from another great book. It says, play WholEarth game, a game of trust and sharing. Okay, what is that? Trust and sharing. Okay, well, there we have to do that. Now is house, water, and then the leaf is food. Okay, come on, use your imagination. If you can't see that, you should probably go shopping or something. Sun is the energy that is provided to us every single day. And then the question is, are you the hammer or are you the nail? And at this point, I'm going to say, Carrie, are you listening over there? Are you the hammer or are you the nail?
Well, we all know that I'm generally the hammer.
That's right. Boom, boom, boom. So what do you think so far? Is this completely some other planet, or what are we doing? Of course it's another planet, by the way. It's the whole Earth planet. Go ahead.
It's Spaceship Earth. Well, all of it makes such complete sense. And what you're doing is suturing together all of these different concepts so that we sort of get how stuff is interconnected. And I'm glad that you talked about everything from 9/11 to Julian Assange. All of this is relevant because the free flow of information allows you to do what you're doing right now. Without your voice being out there, we can't know what's missing. All we know is stuff seems not to be there, but then maybe we think it's normal that you don't have water or air or whatever. And we have to be reminded the better ways. And so you also give us history. You talk about Buckminster Fuller. You bring up Amory Lovins. You talk about all these other superstars who've spent decades doing a lot of heavy lifting and unraveling the next to impossible to understand. And you're putting it in simple words for regular people. So I have to say, this is a much needed glass of water in a parched desert.
I hope you think so, because this is exactly, again, another completely, nothing that I bring to you comes from me directly, except the motivation to come to you through my creator to speak with you about these issues. Gratitude is the key. Like, how could I possibly? So the big thing, but these are insights by, Paul Hawken talks about in his book, Blessed Unrest, the first opening, the opening forward is about how going around the country talking about natural capitalism, he was given card after card after card, hundreds of cards. Couldn't keep up with it all. How, in small ways, lots of small ways, people are already doing the right thing, which I know is why we're going to have this blue tsunami coming forward. I mean, these guys are just making a milkshake out of telling us that this is a close race. But if there's anybody that wants to vote for this complete and utter, every possible thing my father taught me, this man has broken every single ethical boundary known to any ethical finance person. It doesn't work like this. This is not the way we do business, okay? It's not the way it's done. What's done is scrutiny, paper, everybody else, like literally, this one person thinks that this is a normal thing. It's not a normal thing. And any parent out there can tell you this is not a normal thing. How is, one guy going to handle it? Well, if one person is a real grandfather and a real father, that's a true statement. And one person pretended to go to every single graduation and never went to one. It's so simple. And I don't think anybody can miss that. I just don't believe anybody can miss it. And I think so this is what we need moving, because I tell you this, the only reason I'm walking in this time on a road less traveled is because I've got to be completely stark, raving, coherent for what the next chapter is going to hold. There's two ways to go. What do you think, Carrie? You've read the books.
Yeah.
You are one of my mentors in the subject of Sophie's Choice and how fast it goes from some perfect life to some completely insane life.
One of the things that's really clear is this is no longer a theoretical or comfortable proposition where you can sort of take it or leave it. Back when Al Gore was originally talking about climate change or,
Well,
talk
let me
about
say something there.
Yeah.
Sure enough, I mean, once he got, the election stolen from him, might as well go. Oh, by the way, we should be go. And I have his book right here. The Future, Al Gore.
Right.
Boom.
Right.
There it is. Big old nasty thing. Again, I read titles. So luckily the title was short enough I could read it.
Yeah, he was smart that
one.
way. Good
The other one,
politician.
of course, you gotta have this one. This is the one. This is the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
You gotta have natural capital. Anyway, these are the antidotes, right? Because with Naomi Klein, through you, by proxy, Amy Goodman and Julian Assange. Now we're gonna talk about your October surprise in July. Talk about some Bastille Day stuff. Now we're going to be talking about the human sovereignty in upcoming shows. I don't know. I'd love to be able to talk about that right now because this is the whole point. I mean, this is worth nothing until you have the freedom to make your own decisions. You see, this is what Bucky was saying, is that he went along with the game. He went along with the whole concept. You got to do this. You got to go to this school. You got to go to that school. You got to get this type of, thing. And when he failed, he wanted to kill himself. And I felt the same way. And then you realize, wait a second, I'm here for way more than this. This is not my job. My job is to help people get out of, to be homeful and hungerless in the shortest amount of time. Okay. I don't know anything about that other thing. God, creator, help people become homeful and hungerless. Do one small thing. And we're big on 1% a day. 1% a day for the planet that's still sick. And a few kind words. Now, if you can make it 10%, or you and I mean, aren't we going? We're like 110%. Now, Renee's in here. She's in there for 120% because all women are in for at least 120%.
There's a good news equation here. It only takes 15% of the public to decide something to literally change the bottom line, to literally change the behavior of giant corporations and of politicians. And a great example would be high fructose corn syrup. Now, we've all heard of it. Most people have no idea really what it is, but they know they're suspicious of it because there was enough news items and conversation around high fructose corn syrup not being good for you that people decided, I don't think I want it. Some people remember they were talking about diabetes type 2. It is a major contributor. It is 7 to 10 times more powerful than regular sugar. That means when you put it in your body through a bran flake or any other ubiquitous beverage, whether it's a cola or a soda pop, it has almost 10 times the amount of what it would do if you were looking to get diabetes. Likewise, it metabolizes and processes through the liver like alcohol, and it causes cirrhosis of the liver. So people didn't understand medically, scientifically necessarily, but they heard something dangerous. That was enough for General Mills and Kellogg's to pull high fructose corn syrup out of Raisin Bran. And you might remember, and this is maybe 8 years ago, on the very top of a box of Raisin Bran was a big yellow stripe with black lettering on the top that said contains no high fructose corn syrup. Again, people not sure what it is, but the fact that it's screaming there ain't none of it in here, they started selling lots of those bran flakes again. Then they started putting it on everything. No high fructose corn syrup. You can still find it everywhere. It's kind of still back in there. It's in Twizzlers and, all kinds of candies and stuff you may not pay attention to. But in sort of Whole Foods, so to speak, they pulled it out because only 15% of Americans were skeptical. Why is this good for us? Because what Alanson is bringing forth about the earth, about the environment, about getting along together, about co-participating in the betterment of humankind, it only takes 15% of us. It's not like a democracy. It has to be 51% or forget it. It does not work that way. It's a tiny fraction of people that want to get into action that literally change everything. When it comes to humankind, 2/3 of people are sane, 1/3 are nuts. It's always the 1/3 that the ruthless and cynical politicians go after, not the 2/3. The 2/3 know that they have to have a marketplace, they have to have clean water, they have to have good schools, they want to play soccer, they want to take their kids out fishing on the weekends, they want to be normal and have normal lives. The 1/3 feel disenfranchised, they're angry, they're resentful, they're hostile, and they may have an IQ of 100 or under. The average IQ of a live human is only 100.
Wait a second.
Only 100. So that third is 100 and under.
See, this is the funny thing, though, Kerry. Even those folks with that particular whatever you just described, 1/3, 2/3, 5/3, 10/3, I don't even know. But the point is, they all still need a place to sleep tonight. You see, and they still need to get up and get some coffee in the morning, and they're still going to go to the refrigerator and open the door for something. And right. And then what they're trained into, of course, and this is where we are again at Free Speech Radio or KP, wherever we are talking to you who are listening to us, you know better, you know us. And we're going to tell you that, there's only 3 companies running all the food that you can get at those stores anyway. So we need to understand that, which is why having a garden that you can actually consume and use is something really important before we completely forget. Now it's just not convenient, darn it. It's just not. And, but it would be good to have just enough in case something stowed away, one of these things, just in case. I don't know what it is, but it's time to start getting ready for whatever. And that's what we're going to talk about as we progress through the game, and can't wait to see y'all and how you're going to be getting through this whole thing and getting it together. Because the point is, if we go into chaos theory, into kind of panic mode, this is what happens when you play soccer, right? If you're not able to be in condition to hold the ball and make a good decision, right? That's why we use our skills in the game of football, so that we can do a pullback and hold on and change the direction of the ball so the other team doesn't get it, rather than just kicking it into some panic mode where anybody can just take it, right?
Yeah.
We play keep away, not give away. So that's what we're doing in the WholEarth game. We're going to we're playing giveaway in WholEarth game. We're playing giveaway, full-time job. We play giveaway and keep away, but keep away and give away. I don't know. Thanks for listening, everybody. And I think that's about the end of our time.
That is. And next week, you're going to be talking about, give us a little teaser about next week, because it's really going to be a deep dive.
So the point is that we are in a mental universe of which all is mental, all is mind. So you are now Trace Magistus, as we are. If you've heard our other show and you've gone through the 7 Hermetic principles and you understand the laws, and I implore you to go and do your own research on these and do your own research. If you think that we're on to something, keep coming back, because we're going to talk about how to use those and manifest what we really want. So in this mental universe, we're going to look at what we want. We're going to see the future as it should be. Now, in order to do that, we need to break away from the mental construct of being in a prison planet. And that's different for everybody. Or maybe it's the same for everybody. But tune in. Next week, we're going to be getting into the Declaration of Human Sovereignty. And based on the fact that my birthday is 7/14, which is also Bastille Day, And the fact that I was born at 7:14 in the morning, we're going to start at 7:14, and we'll have another review at 7:14 in the evening. And what I hope to present to you all is your freedom. We're going to break down the walls of the house of, the torture chamber. The Bastille was the most heinous of all torture chambers. Anything you could imagine, and then double that was probably done there, and then some. Okay, it was a horrible place. The people, literally, this is the time we are going to take down the walls of these people who are trying to manipulate us, and we're going to regain our freedom. And this is what Bucky wanted from us too. Remember, he's like, as soon as I started having to think for myself, I realized that pretty much everything they told me was not working for me. I had to go think for myself. This is to help you think for yourself and realize that there's a difference. It's your way is the only way, and the way is your way.
Well, it's going to be wonderful next week to really do a deep dive into human sovereignty, because every single person, no matter who they are, that is a home run. That is a central point. My freedom, your freedom. And where do I stop? Where do you begin? And how do I hold on to it? And who better than you, Lance and Charles, to take us there next week?
Just ready, and just regular guy. See, if I can do it, you can do it. If you can do it, she can do it. If she can do it, he can do it. We can all do it. I mean, that's what Christ said. I mean, did you hear that? Oh, Jack Black, or that guy, Louis C.K. Black. He says, and then they brought the new guy in.
Well,
they brought the younger version in, the Christian guys. There's two Bibles. There's one, the old one, and the new guy. Anyways, funny stuff.
Well, let's thank Renee Yawarski, the great goddess, Yawarski. Upon our bended knees, we now lean and proffer the gold bullion of thanks to her special and spectacular talents as technical director and great wise thinker and sage. She adores you, Alanson, and really appreciates what you're doing to help the people of Earth. So we'll look forward to seeing everybody, all of you.
We are twin. Now we are okay. So this is 3. So that we got 3 of us, and then Mike Schmidt somewhere in the number 4 level. When we hit number 5, we will be into that's the organic seed.
The pentangle of possibility.
Yeah, the pentangle of possibilities. The next level will be 8, and that will be infinity. So once we hit that level, it's all or nothing. It should be self-replicating. Well, our words, like just the seeds that we're planting today, should be replicating. That's how, according to the laws of the universe. I'm going with it. I'm going with it. All right, my good friend, you are the best. And I think we'll just go ahead and boom, and then we'll meet just right.
This is the Whole Earth Game program. Because everything depends on it.